All right, it's Monday, February 8th, 2020, and this is your weekly look at the Altos Research data that came in over the weekend for the entire U.S. real estate market. Each week, Altos tracks every home for sale in the U.S., all the pricing, the supply and demand, all the changes in pricing, and we bubble up those analytics so that you can see the trends here before it becomes available through the traditional media channels. Before we hit the data this week, I just want to let you know that on Wednesday this week, February 10th at 10 a.m. Pacific, will be our monthly webinar where we spend more time diving into these numbers, looking at the local markets, discussing how, as a real estate professional, you should be analyzing the data and communicating with your client, sharing it with them. Home buyers and sellers, investors, builders, financial, the market is so crazy right now that if you're a professional in the space, you really should plan to join us. Your clients need to know what's going on out there. There is a link to register for that webinar in the description below here. So join us for that. Onto the inventory crisis watch. We're down to only 355,000 or so single family homes on the market this week, with about 50,000 new listings and another 10,000 or so that went directly into contract. These properties are only listed for hours or a day or two, and they don't actually ever make it into the active market data. So the current active inventory is less than half of what it was a year ago, which we're already at record low levels. In the webinar Wednesday, we'll discuss the long-term trends, how we got here, and how we might possibly start emerging from this crisis. No real end in sight, though, but we're going to talk about the variables there. No surprise that home prices are up again this week. The median single family home price in the US is $344,900. We're well on our way to another 10% price appreciation year this year. We're only a few weeks away from the momentary demand dip that happened in the first lockdown mid-March last year. And at that time, our year-over-year prices will jump a lot. The median price of the newly listed cohort is $324,500, also unsurprisingly up again this week. As homes come to market as new listings, this measure here, this green line on this chart, is the most sensitive to organic levels of demand. So as the spring buying season kicks in, watch this number keep jumping too. Outside of the crazy inventory chart, it can be hard to grasp how nuts it is out there right now. One leading indicator that we keep our eyes on at Altos Research is the Market Action Index. This number works like a barometer. It measures demand levels relative to supply levels. And at the local level, it gives a really great at-a-glance answer to the question, like, how's the market? How hot is it out there? Is it cooling off? The MAI can climb with greater demand or with tighter supply. And right now, of course, we have both. Above 30 on this measure is what we call seller's market conditions. Inventory is sufficiently tight and demand sufficiently high that, like, prices will keep rising. The sellers have the upper hand in the market. The dotted line on this chart is the weekly measure, and it bounces around a little bit. With holidays, it'll dip. You can see every year in January it resets. See the bright red line in here. That's where the market demand froze for about 4 weeks, starting mid-March of 2020. So it dropped, and then the rest of the year recovered remarkably strong. But compare that to the rocket we're on right now. This is the far end of the chart, the dotted green line here is just rocketing higher. And so we're in seller's market conditions unlike we've ever seen. Inventory is record low, and demand is off the charts. And this bodes well for pricing all the way through the year. We will spend more time on this on Wednesday and look at some of the long-term and local trends on that data. Okay, that's the data we have time for this week. The link to register for the webinar is in the description below. Join us then. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you are always here to catch the latest weekly data. That's all for today. Thank you. Or next week.